And here are the standings after round 5 in the third Sinquefield Cup, the second leg of the Grand Chess Tour. Lebanonians come back, 3.5. Tied. Magnus won today, 3.5 as well. Right behind him is Topalov and Gary. Gary, I'm a little surprised he's this high up. And my buddy at 2.5, Carl Nakamura, as well as Maxime Vacher-Lagrave. Fabiano Caruana and Grishik with 2. Wesley So and Anand with 1.5. A little surprised at Vishy. I thought he'd be up to 2.5 by now. 2.5 anyway. Anyway, folks, there's the standings after 5 rounds. Hi, folks. John Cordisco back again. Another game from round 5 of the 3rd annual Sinquefield Cup. The second leg in the 3-leg series called the Grand Chess Tour. Total prize money over $1 million. Boy, I'll tell you, chess has come a long ways since I watched Fischer in the early 70s win the world championship in a local PBS station. I do want to mention there's a short interview at the end with Magnus, so stay tuned for that. Magnus Carlsen is white. Current world champion. Wesley So is black. Formerly from the Philippines, now playing for the U.S. Let's get to it. It's going to be a Sicilian Nadorf. Carlsen is white, So is black. Knight takes. Typical stuff. A6. Bishop B3. Bishop C4. It's about the same. Pawn. Knight B3. Now I know that's standard in the Nadorf, but that backward pawn though, it's okay for now, but I'm just being too picky. F3, typical stuff. What happens a lot when you want to go F3 and castle kingside, you put your bishop here, because the queen has a tendency to cut off with the king there castled. Knight, queen D2, B5, castle's long. Okay, that's pretty typical too in the Nadorf. Bishop E7. Nadorf usually brings the most exciting games. I know Jennifer Shahadi, that's doing some of the commentary for the Sinquefield Cup with Maurice Ashley and Yasser Serwan, loves the Nadorf or Nydorf. So no comments in the comment section. I heard it pronounced both ways. B4. Knight goes to D5. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. Knight B6. Okay. Looks a little scary for white, but it always does in a Nadorf. Knight A5. Knight takes. That's the last book move according to the computer. Knight C4. So black is up a pawn, but I think Magnus gave it up for some activity. Knight takes. Knight takes. Castles. Bishop C4, Knight H4. Okay, here we go. Typical Sicilian pawn race. White storms the king side and black storms the queen side. Whoever gets there first wins. Right now it's a minute advantage for black. Not as good as those you were wondering about. Queen takes. After D5, queen to D2. And where's that bishop gonna go? D4. And it looks pretty good for black. After H4, A5, here come the pawns. G5, which is really tough, so you can't push the F pawn, at least not yet. Rook C8, Bishop D5. Now Magnus has played okay up until now. I kind of like black's setup just a little bit better, even though white's perfectly fine. This knight's in a pretty good spot. You can jump here sometime, here. Force him to get rid of the dark squared bishop. Knight to B6. King to B1. You see that a lot in the Nadorf, to get the king off the open C file. Queen C7, you can see why. Want all that power right on your king. Rook. Knight. Knight takes D5. Okay, we got a bishop against the knight. Right now, that bishop really sucks on E7. Minute advantage for white, and I'll tell you, it's going to be a while for that bishop could even get in the action and all. That's a really, really good knight. He's on D5. There's no pawns on each side to harass him. And he's got dark squared bishop, so you can't capture him. So that's pretty good knight. Queen, f4, f5. See what he does here. And you see this a lot in Grandmaster games, unlike us amateurs. We always capture. It's weird. But these guys, no, they look for the best move. Queen to e3. Now, if pawn takes, black loses a piece. e4, just to close it up. That knight's still a pain in black's behind, though. h5, rook c5, h6. He's just going to close it up, and that's what he did. Give you an idea what would happen if pawn had taken. Pawn takes, king f7. I mean, it's... Computer shows it as even because computers is just a monster at defense. Whereas the humans are a little bit... We feel the pressure. g6, queen to b3. That's waiting for a discovery. So just blocks with the rook. That way the knight move doesn't have a discovery. Actually, what the threat was, knight takes bishop, double check, which means the king would have to move, and black loses a piece. Rook f7, a4. That's a good spot for a4. So if you take it in passant, you drop the queen, and that closes it up over there, which is exactly what white wants. Bishop d8. Rook d4. Here's where it starts getting tricky. King f8. I think he's just... Get out of the pin. He wants to move the rook, but... Get the king out of the corner there. Rook to d1. Rook to c6. Now, the top 3 computer moves basically show this game as dead even. Let's see how it progresses. Knight to e3. Going to reroute the knight, I think, to c4. Bishop. And this is a move I think Magnus missed. It's not the end of Western civilization. Rook takes d6. Rook takes d6. Bishop c7. Most guys may get white takes, rook takes c6. You can play it through. I kind of lost my place there, so stop the video if you want to work that out. Knight to c4. Oh, here's what it would have been. Rook takes, rook takes, rook takes. Bishop c7. I think it opens it up a little bit. Knight c4, bishop takes. Knight hits the queen. Queen has to move. And now knight takes. Bishop c5. Of course, if queen had taken the knight, queen would take an pawn on b4. Queen to d5, protecting the knight and getting his queen in some really good spot there. e3, here comes the passed pawn. a5. Now we're going to move 37. I don't believe that either player was in time trouble. 40 moves is the time control. And there's no increment on this at all. On move 41, you receive an extra hour in a 30-second increment starting on move 41. So that's why some of these guys are getting in time trouble. I think they're just used to the increment. Queen to c7. It's a choice on the computer. That's a good choice. Queen to b5, any one of those. But calls it a question mark. And immediately, it's a 2.5 point advantage for white. Queen to c7 was the move. He miscues. Knight to d8. What to do here? He goes rook to a7, and that's just a disaster. If you want rook to e7 instead, knight e6, king e8. But after knight to a7, knight e6 check, king, knight d4, hitting the queen. Queen takes. Looks really scary for white, but not really. Queen checks, king up, queen takes, king c8, queen g8, king b4, pawn up. Saves everything. Black doesn't have the time to move the pawn here. Cut off the escape square because the knight will take it number 1, and it takes 2 moves to protect that square. B takes. Queen to B3 check. Very nice. Queen to B6. Queen takes B6. King. B takes. And the rest of it's just technique. I think Carlsen let his guard down. I think he's going to have to work for this win a little bit more. Only about a 1.25 advantage now for white. Rook takes. Rook takes. Or excuse me, bishop takes. Rook takes. King C6. 2-point advantage. This is a tricky, but it's a winnable endgame for white. You have to be very accurate. King to C2, get the king up. Rook checks. King to D1. Now, of course, if the rook checks again, he'll go to E2 and then grab the E pawn. Rook F2, stopping that. And this is where I think Wesley So just miscalculates. I think about 5 or 6 moves back, white had a pretty good advantage and still does. It's still almost a 2-point advantage, but I think Magnus made it a little harder for him than he should. King to D7. And I think that's the final miscue. He should have went D5. And then after rook to D3, king, rook takes, rook E8. Black is still doomed, but at least he can fight back. After rook to A4, he miscues again. This is on move 52, so it wasn't time trouble. King comes up, and it's a very human and natural move. King comes up. You got to remember, this black rook can't stray too far because he's got to chase after the white pawn. Rook A8. Now he has to go to H2. If he had taken the pawn instead, to give you an idea, after rook E8, king, pawn, he's doomed. Absolutely doomed. After rook to H2, C4, and now the black king is running out of places to go. Can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. King F7, try to stop. But he can't get to the pawn. The rook on the last rank is blocking the king from getting in, and the pawn on H6 is blocking the king from getting in on G7. Rook, king, rook to G8, and that's the end. That's where Wesley So, world-class player playing for the United States, resigns. It was a good game by Magnus. And when I say Magnus miscues, miscues for being Magnus Carlsen, not miscues to the level that you and I play on. So that wasn't really a critique or criticism on Magnus. So anyway, Magnus needed this win. And now he is tied for first place with amazing comeback. Amazing comeback. Anyway, folks, I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye. And watch the interview at the end of this video. Bye-bye.
Well, Magnificent Magnus, after losing his first-round game, has come storming back with 3 wins out of 4, and he is tied for the tournament lead. First of all, Magnus, congratulations on your game.
Yeah, thank you.
The game was interesting. You sacrificed a pawn for some compensation. Did you feel you just had enough from the get-go and think that you had really great winning chances from the start?
I mean, I felt that objectively it should be fine, but position might be a little bit easier to play with white. I think I kind of messed up at some point, and then, I mean, at some point I just blundered, and I was unbelievably lucky that I wasn't losing. At
which point?
When I had the knight on c6, I thought he could play queen b7. It just took me ages to see that I have queen c5, dc5, rook d8 mate. Otherwise, that would be huge trouble. So that was.
Let's pull that up on the board, if you may. Let's try and get.
The move you mentioned, does it come after this moment or before?
Yeah, so it takes queen b6, queen b7.
Queen b7.
So if it doesn't lose immediately, then black is actually doing very well there.
And it took you ages to find queen takes c5.
Yeah.
I see. Very nice. back rank checkmate, not a usual back rank checkmate.
Now, in this position, though, there was a tricky moment back here when you first played knight c4. Did you consider the move rook? First of all, the engines thing, rook d6 is winning. Did you look at that for?
Yeah, I just couldn't see it. Rook d6, bishop c7, and I couldn't find the knockout blow. But in general, I felt that my position was much better after I got this h6 stuff in. And then I felt intuitively that bishop b6 should be losing, but I couldn't quite see it.
Now, knight to c4, what about the possibility here, instead of playing bishop takes d4, rook takes on c4? This was a bit of a...
Yeah, I missed that one. I guess I shouldn't be worse still, but...
No, it was...
That's, yeah. Okay.
So this was a move you missed in this shot. Rook d7 and then suddenly the trap.
No, I mean d5, rook d5, but rook d7. And,
yeah, tricky move. Okay, so Wesley had a chance there. Later in the game, he got to this position, and you were in cruise control. We expected...
I mean, this was just amazing. I thought I was winning by checks, but I just missed something simple. So.
But here, did you know that knight c5 was winning in this position?
No, I saw it immediately after that. I go check, take on h7, and take on g6 in the end, and that's it. So that was a bit embarrassing. I think this king c6, just queen g6, and
exactly.
And that's it. I mean, I saw it right after the time control when I was trying to pick up the piece.
So your 40th move was knight d4.
Yeah.
And you knew that was good, but
no, I didn't think knight. I mean, when I played knight d4, I thought I'd messed up, but fortunately with c3, I still have chances. Yeah.
So when knight d4 was sitting on the board, it's a 40th move, and you came back to the board. You thought this might not actually be winning.
Yeah, I thought I might have messed up, but I felt that c3. I just kept on checking that I'm not losing, and if I'm not losing, then I'm probably still winning.
Wow, so that took you about 20 minutes, and then finally you went right down the line.
Yeah, I mean there are some tricky lines, you know, bishop d4, rook d4. I just need to make sure that I have enough checks, but his king is so exposed as well that it should be very good for white.
We saw the study-like finish at the end. Are you a student of studies? Do you have a favorite study composer?
Well, not particularly. I mean, I've seen a lot of studies of Pervakov, people like Kasparian. When I was in school, we used to do Kubel studies every day. So I've seen a lot of studies, but. No, it was fun, but right at the end, I kind of regret that I didn't go rook b7 instead of rook g8. That would have been more elegant.
Oh, let's see that position.
Yeah, so I went rook. I mean, I can win in several ways here, but rook b8 just puts him in complete zugzwang, and then after king e6, I should have gone rook b7. But I thought it was
b7.
I thought it was time to just finish it.
Win the game.
Yeah, win the game.
Got it. Well, you lost your first game, and now you've won 3 out of 4. I mean, that's riding the ship, obviously. What are your feelings going into tomorrow, going into the rest day? Is Magnus Carlsen back?
Again, I repeat what I said again after the game with Maxim, that things are not perfect, but it's looking up. I felt that today's game was very interesting. As I said, I was at some point very lucky that I had this little trick, but you could argue that I was not so lucky because in such positions there usually is something, but yeah, sometimes there isn't, and if that had been the case today, that would have been bad news for me. But yeah, I mean, back at the top of the standings, cannot get better than that. Yeah,
absolutely. You are tied for first with Levon Aronian. Topalov has tumbled. You feel the players are getting a little bit tired now? Is this when Magnus Carlsen starts to assert himself as a physically fit? Yas was saying that he'll probably be going to play basketball tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I think Magnus Carlsen has started to assert himself already. So, no. What can I say? it's looking up, and I think Topalov had a very good position today. At least that's what it looked like. But yeah, Corona, I guess, defended well, and you cannot win every day by sacrificing a rook. But no, it's an interesting time ahead for sure.
For sure. Well, we appreciate your coming down with us, and now at the top of the leaderboard, as we expect, should be interesting games to follow. Have a good rest on the rest day, and good luck in the rest of the games.
Thank you.
Magnus Carlsen back on top where everyone expected him to be, although after that first round, many were wondering, but it seems like the Norwegian ship has righted itself. We'll see how it goes.